Welcome, everyone. This is Bourboner live review of Nelson Brier Tennessee Whiskey 108. So, going to give everyone just a few minutes to jump on here. Let's see here. Okay. Pretty much right on time with the 9 o'clock start time, which is unusual. But give everyone a couple minutes to jump on before I jump into the reviews. I know a lot of you, or several of you, put questions into the comment section. So I'm going to pull that up really quick, and we can kind of knock out some of those questions first, and then hold on one second. All right. Let's see here. So before I get into the reviews, I'll just go through some of these questions, and then if I'm going to edit this video and put it on YouTube as well. So if you don't sit through the whole thing, you have the chance to still get the review. But let's see. David asked, so is this their first bottling of non-sourced whiskey? Yes, that's correct. It's Bellmead is their sourced brand, and so the Nelson Brier brand, well, Nelson's, I guess they're calling it, will be their own distillate. Age, mash bill, entry proof, etc. from Maxwell Christie, Superfly Bourbon. Yeah, it's 30-gallon barrels. They say it's corn, wheat, and barley. They wouldn't give the percentages, so I'm not sure. Then the entry proof is 125. So standard bourbon entry proof. You know, that's the standard these days because that's as high as it can go, and still be called bourbon or Tennessee whiskey. Let's see, and they're perfecting stock stuff or size. Yeah, they do come in the 375s, which is really nice. They also have a tasting lineup of all their cask finishes that it's in a 375 bottles and in a sampler pack, which is nice for Christmas gifts. What have they done differently and gained so much traction? I don't know. They put out good whiskey for sure. They have gained a lot of traction. They kind of took the big brand approach. They have a full built-out sales team, that kind of stuff. But they just have a good product. It's a little bit different with the different cask finishes. So hard to say what they're doing different that makes them have that much market share for a smaller operation. Let's see, gift shop only. Yeah, it is a gift shop only. And then the plan now is to be gift shop or distillery only for the time being, at least on their own distillate, and then keep the Bellmead brand out there, and hopefully one day have more and more to get into distribution with the Nelson's releases. But the next release won't be until 2019, which is going to be a 4-year-old bourbon, 4-year-old Tennessee whiskey. And it's going to be in 53-gallon barrels. These two bottles are both from 30-gallon barrels, and they're just over 2 years old. I don't have the exact age, but around 26 months, I believe it is. And then let's see, Greenbrier from Tennessee. So my size. What do you think? False. What do you think, Bulls O'Hara? I don't know. A little disappointed in Florida's hiring of Dan Mullen, so that's all I can think about right now. But all right, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the review portion. So I'm switching over to the comments in the live video stream. So if you have any more while I go, feel free to jump in and ask. So the first one I'm going to try is I'm going to do it by proof. So I have one that is 100, the 108, and it's 90 proof. So it's been proofed down some from barrel strength. And then the other is a 30-gallon barrel at barrel strength, which is at 123. So slight drop in proof from when it went in at 125. But if they're, excuse me, single warehouse racks or from a lower spot in the warehouse, that's pretty typical. So we'll go ahead and give this a review. So the nose, there's a lot of caramel, a little bit of vanilla. There's a graininess and a corniness. You know, not a whole lot of, you expect that young oak, that what I call the green oak nose, but I don't get a lot of that. It's very mellow. There's a little bit of baking spice there, more like cinnamon and nutmeg, a little bit of black pepper, but mainly caramel and very reminiscent of a lot of other Tennessee whiskeys, specifically Dickel, not Jack Daniels. So the palate is very similar. It's actually, man, I think I've just become a little jaded with a lot of these craft releases. I just expect a hot, young green oak, kind of piney taste, but it doesn't have a lot of that. It's actually very, very drinkable. There's some herbal notes, some black tea, a little bit of the youngness comes through, but it's not immediate at all. So maybe that's from the 30-gallon barrels that it's getting a little bit of that, but overall it's brown sugar and a little grain, but it's actually really nice. Yeah, Jonathan said sweet tea heaven, and that's really accurate. It's pretty impressive, actually. So, yeah, the finish is still pretty good. There's a little bit of berry, and you get a little more of the astringent kind of black pepper tannic, but not at all what I was expecting. And maybe I'm setting the bar a little low because most craft whiskey I taste still needs some time, but it's actually really good. Vance, I am tasting Nelson Greenbrier 108. So the Bellmead distillery is Nelson Greenbrier, and this is their first release of their own distillate, just over 2 years old, in 30-gallon barrels. Jonathan says, Bellmead Suicide, 1 ounce of single barrel Madeira XO sherry blended in a Ninja. That's going to be in the next Bellmead blind tasting. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. And that starts to get out of the, well, it's pretty good for crafter. Well, you can mix it and stuff, and that kind of stands up on its own. I do want to reference that there is a new wreath behind me. It is no longer the boxwood. That is actual some kind of, I don't know, Christmas tree or something other. And I do have a nutcracker as well. So we're full Christmas out in the Reber household right now. All right. Next up, we have Nelson's Greenbrier 108. This is the cask strength version. So this is barrel number 24. It is 123 proof. See if you can get a decent shot of that. 123 proof, and so a little over 2 years as well. What's interesting is on the back label, they put, to celebrate its return, we are releasing 108 30-gallon barrels filled with original recipe It has been aged a minimum of 2 years. I think they do have to put the actual age. Is that correct? If it's under 4 years, you have to put the age, or is that under 2 years that you have to put the age? I'll double check that one. So, and then basically says, well, to hold you until the 53-gallon barrels are ready. So kind of a cool way of doing it. Releasing something, getting something out on the marketplace, kind of showing what the product's going to be like in the next couple of years, and then in 2019, hopefully, those the 53-gallon barrels hit. So, all right, I'm going to taste the cask strength version now. So it's very similar, but there's actually, it's the same. It's the malty notes. It's the grainy notes. Cinnamon, black pepper. Yeah. And maybe it's just the young age, but most wheated bourbons, you expect to kind of get that bright cherry or even that darker cherry, but not much of that going on with this wheated. I keep wanting to call it a wheated bourbon. I know it's a Tennessee whiskey, but I think we all know what that really means. Yeah, and so to me, it's immediate. A lot more tannic on the taste. A little more of that, just not piney, but a little bit of a younger taste to it. A little more green wood. The nose actually holds up well. The taste, is good, but I actually think the lower proof is a little better for this. Proof down a little bit kind of rounds out some of those rough edges. You don't get as much of the heat, and it's more of a dry tannic heat on this than a sweetness. And then thank you, Eric Lee, for announcing you're out and texting me at the same time. Okay, I'll talk about the decorations later. But yeah, I don't know if I like this one as much. It's more of like a red hot candy. It has that spicy cinnamon taste. So I think the 90 proof was actually $30, and then the cask strength version was $60. And I would take 2 bottles of this 90 proof any day at $30. It's actually really good. And if you're looking to support a craft distillery, I know that they did get a minority stake investment from I believe it was Constellation. So they're on the edge of craft distillery, but it sounds like the owners are still in full control. It is pretty cool to see a small distillery like that put out some good bottles, and makes me want to try their product even more whenever they release the 53-gallon 4-year version. Effect of the small barrels, I don't think you'd notice it. I think you would just say, definitely not on the 90 proof. I wouldn't say, well, maybe that is the effect of the small barrels, is it does seem to have aged a little better in 2+ years than it typically would in a 53-gallon. I saw that with a local distillery here, manifested with their rye in 30-gallon barrels, and it did a whole lot better than I would have thought in a little over 2 years. So that could be, maybe it is some of the, I'm going to call them medium-sized barrels, because small barrels, I'm thinking 5 to 10 gallons, but those medium-sized barrels, the 30s, do better in the interim. But then if it gets to that probably 5-6 year point, it's just way over oaked. So I would say that the 30-gallon barrels were actually a plus in this case. So that's pretty much it on the reviews. Any other questions before I jump off here? Yes, manifest rye was in 30-gallon barrels. Yeah, going back to the 123, the cask strength, it drinks hotter, and I know I get it. It's, let's see, 33 proof points, so it's 15% more alcohol. So that makes a difference, but there's definitely a flavor difference too. All in all, a really good release from them. Let's see. Vance said 40% reduction in size equal better aging. No, I think it just, what's the more surface area or more whiskey is exposed to the surface area of the barrel, so you get a little faster aging and that kind of thing. Buffalo Trace has done some studies on that with smaller barrels, and they said it didn't help. And actually, the 30-gallon barrels aren't that much cheaper than 53-gallon barrels. So for most distilleries, it doesn't make sense to go into 30-gallon barrels because the economies of scales don't work out like you would assume they would. Oxidation plays a different role, or plays a role as well, because as more is going out of the barrels, you have less. So now, Jonathan, have you tried this? Assume we're gonna have a conversation through the comments, but I assume you've tried this based on your comments. What were your thoughts on the cask strength version? Barrel entry proof is 125. I would be surprised. I would actually like to see a lower barrel entry proof on smaller barrels like this, just because I think too much of that heat comes off whenever you're trying to release a cask strength version. But 53-gallon, I think it can absorb the heat, but 30-gallon, I think it had a tougher time. But really, the color, you can see the color on these are great. And even the difference between the two. This is the 90 proof. This is the cask strength. You can see there's the difference. I would agree. Maybe something around 110 on the cask strength version. So if you, I'm gonna make a mess here, but let's see. All right, that's about as unexact science as you can get, but yeah, that's closer to the 90 proof. So all in all, I'd say if you're in the area, try to grab a bottle. My first pick would be the 90 proof, but your money stretches a little further when you have the cask strength and you can proof it down yourself to where you like it. So, all right, that's going to be it. If you have any other questions, feel free to include them in the comments. If not, thanks for watching it. Everyone, have a good night.